You guys are good to go, so have a great meeting, and I'm here if you need.
Great. Thanks, Brandy.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. So I'll just maybe start with the land acknowledgement. And we in this committee acknowledge the traditional territory. We're mostly situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, which include the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We also acknowledge the Wendat Nation, who occupied these lands prior to the middle of the 17th century. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and recognize the enduring presence of Indigenous people on this land, and we are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. Great. So how's everyone doing today? Good. So I guess we'll get started with the transition document. I wasn't at the last meeting, so I'm a little bit behind on it. I definitely listened to the meeting, but we can get going from there. Was there, I guess maybe Brandy or maybe everyone else can let me know, was there an actual document?
And you can give it to me. Thanks.
Sorry, apparently I'm button happy. The committee was working on that and discussing it at the last meeting. There was a bit of a presentation that Councillor Elwin did provide. Other than that, I haven't been sent anything to provide to the committee about any progress or any finishes or anything like that. So I'm not sure if anybody else on the committee would be able to provide any more information if they've spoken outside of the committee meetings.
Good morning, it's Anne Marie. My Zoom functionality is not working, so I can now finally hear you, but I don't think you can see me, but I haven't seen anything either.
Okay, so is there anything, I guess, is there anything anyone else would like to add after having a chance to think about it from the last meeting?
I think Keenan was off to a good start with the document. Maybe if we can just get our hands on that and update it is probably best we can do, right?
Yeah, I think we can, following this meeting, then we can sort of email, link it through and see if there's any last comments on it before we pass it on. Because this is our last meeting. So we'll get that sorted out before the end of it.
Yeah, and it's Anne Marie, because I'm going to log out and log back in. I'm wondering if it's a benefit. I think at the end of our conversation, we had we talked a bit about the name and or the structure of agendas, but I didn't know if we wanted to be deliberate about tucking in a recommendation into that slide deck so it's not lost or separated by minutes. Maybe something to identify considerations for the incoming members.
Sorry to interrupt, but just to give you the heads up, Councillor Cumble, we can see you and hear you perfectly, so you don't need to log off and log on unless you're having issues on your end.
Thank you. It's my end. I've got you now. Yeah, thank you. But I don't think that was captured in the slide deck, right? It was just kind of the key priorities. But wondering if we want to just make sure that however it's moved forward, that's not a conversation piece that's lost or separated.
Do we have the slide deck, Brandy?
When you get back, don't burn.
No, like I said, nothing had been provided to me to even be able to share with the committee. I don't have anything except for what was basically recorded and posted on our YouTube channel.
Okay, so maybe we can follow up with Keenan after the meeting and we'll see if we get that and then we'll add the items and we'll kind of send it around for everyone to get one last chance to comment on it, to add stuff in. Yeah, I think that's good. Does anyone else have any comments or concerns about moving forward that way?
No, but just in case it's maybe preemptive, but it's been such a pleasure to be working with you all on this committee through the term. So I'm excited about what we're moving forward and hoping to see ongoing interest and some continuity of the leadership of you all as members in the future. But no, it's been a real joy.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, and I guess so. Yeah, I guess since I wasn't at that last meeting, I do think in moving forward, I know there's a lot of talk about it. For me, although there's kind of two components that I think are critical for it that we're doing with this committee. And one part is the long-term planning component of it. And I think that's something that can be frustrating at times, but commenting on those items like the official plan, the urban design guidelines, transportation master plan, those long-term documents, I think it's frustrating because it takes, there's no immediate changes, or it doesn't feel like immediate changes, but I think those are critical components to what we're doing here. And I think, reviewing EAs and engineering standards, that sort of stuff. And I think that's a critical component of what we're doing. And then for me, the other component of it is there's a long-term component, and then there's more shorter-term component that I think we can be effective with as a committee is the education and encouragement component, where, our ability to change anything sort of stems from our ability to convince people that we're on the right track, or this is what we need to do. And so I think if we can spend, I think that's where we can sort of move the needle. If we can convince more people that we're on the right track and this is what we need to be moving forward with. And I think that's what we have the ability to do with this committee, because we can't change things like we're not able to design roads, we're not able to do some of that engineering component work. And we don't have a budget to do a lot of other items. We can see what we get, but if we can do some of the stuff like we're doing with Bike the Night, but also educating and encouraging staff, council and the public as well. I think that's something that we can move forward with. But yeah, sorry I missed that last meeting, but those are my thoughts on it. And I guess we'll see how the new legacy document comes together. And I guess that sort of leads into our next component is committee composition. So I think, yeah, Kelly and Wilf have been sort of talking about this and maybe splitting it up between having an active transportation side or more of a transportation side and more of a sustainability component to it, and balancing those out. Is Kelly or Wilf, do you guys want to talk about that now, or is there anything else you guys want to discuss? Or anyone else, I guess? Sure, go ahead, Emery.
Question maybe for after we hear from members, but I know we've got several different staff that are connected to this committee, and I didn't know if they had a perspective about if that structure would help them kind of from a workflow or from a topic around things that we connect on, or engaging them more formally on some of the updates happening at an operational level and how they fall in line with some of the pieces on our agenda. Is it a benefit to actually have a delineation every other month on different topics? And does it create any efficiencies with staff time that we're pulling into this committee, or in kind of when we're hopping from different conversations, does it help them to kind of, I think, be more aware of, when we might be coming to them for questions?
Yeah, great question. Do we have any staff on today? We often have good staff, but is there anyone kind of on there but behind the scenes?
No.
There's no staff.
And that's okay. And if not, maybe it's something we can send through you, Brandy, to staff members of this committee to see if they would have an opinion about if that would be of benefit or not, in how they've been supporting us and how we've kind of been pulling on them on various topics and agendas.
Yeah, I'll send something out today.
Okay, and then maybe they can give that feedback if there's any to the new term of council, so they can actually have some input into that.
Great. Okay. Sorry, Wilf, is that you get unmuted there? Do you have anything to add to it?
No, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Blast through these minutes here. All right. So yeah, committee conversation. So I guess we'll loop back on that again with the email to see if there's any other comments or ideas, and maybe part of that is waiting to the new committee to see how they want to run it. But okay.
A final question on kind of the whole piece that we move forward to the next committee term.
Sure.
And I think you referenced it, John, around, and we talked about it briefly, but I'm not sure if we landed on a motion or a formal recommendation. That was about asking council for funding for this committee. So
right.
Whether or not this committee does Bike the Night, or if it moves to like a different formal kind of event consideration, do we also, in that slide deck, if we put a recommendation about structure, do we also want to formally identify, because council won't be making decisions about committees until the new term of council, do we actually want to add a recommendation in that slide deck that says, regardless of what the work plan is, you've got an activated group and there's lots of community engagement that has an opportunity to be leveraged if there's some funding support. So if there could be consideration for maybe $2,000 to be tied to this committee, so whomever is part of it and decides on what the key priority might be, that there's some support around kind of engaging residents. Was that Am I off base there? Was that kind of an interest to kind of say, some committees have gone to council for funds. This one doesn't have it. We've pulled from Keenan's account for an event, and others have kind of, like Laurel and others have identified funding through different organizations and groups, which has been amazing. But is there an ask we want to make sure the new committee thinks about going to council with?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, no, and I think that came up in the last meeting, right? Just whether or not we make an ask, and the question is how much is that ask for, and if we do we be able to support that with some items that we're listing on whether or not we're doing. I mean, I think at $2,000, it's relatively low, and I think that's compared to other other budget items in the city. I think that's obviously relatively low, and maybe doesn't require a lot of detail on how we're going to spend that based on the history of this group. But yeah, see what everyone else thinks. Laurel?
Yeah, I was just basically going to say what you said there, John, is that the consensus, I think last time, was that if we were going to ask for money, we thought we maybe needed to have some allocation or rationale for that. And we were kind of stuck in the discussion about whether we would be hosting events as a active transportation committee, or if that would be an event on its own. This one is partially hosted by Living Greenberry, right? So it's hard to, I think that was where we got stuck in the last meeting.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, we're sort of limited on financial resources and time resources as well in how much we can run. But yeah, Kelly, you can add to that?
Yeah, I just had a couple of processing questions too around how the next committee is the committee struck already, or are there changes made to the mandates through council before the next committee is chosen? Does anybody know process on that one?
I don't know. Go ahead, Anne-Marie,
Yeah, so my understanding through the clerk's office, and I'll let Brandy correct me, is that when you get a new term of council, it's so this is a discretionary committee. So like seniors, active transportation, we could see that this changes completely. So we will know when there's a new sitting mayor and member of council. That will be a decision at that level about what they want to continue with or what they might want to add or change. And then a call for membership will go out from there. And my understanding is there's no guarantee of continuity of this mandate, and then they can look at the terms of reference and address that in the first meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it as well, from what I'm told.
Because this, as far as I know, because I joined this committee kind of halfway through, but this is a brand new committee or a combination. Like in 2018, this was implemented by Jeff, I think, initially to rule this committee. So this is a fairly new committee as a combination.
Yeah.
I think seniors historically, again, was an interest, I believe, of the mayor at the time, right? So Jeff historically. So it also creates opportunities for the incoming to look at, would an affordable housing task group be something that would be topical or can focus some of the work forward, and what kind of still has a mandate that is applicable to some of the priorities. Right.
Because thank you. That's great. The other item I thought I would include or ask about or query about was, is there any way moving forward to gather minutes from these meetings and have those, reviewed? And I always seem a little lost every time we're at the next meeting because I don't know, what, is there a process for that, Brandy? Or
I can send you the link. The minutes are all posted on the city site, along with the links for the city's YouTube channels for individuals to actually watch the meetings, past and current.
Okay.
So all the minutes are there.
Right. So maybe it's, as a process to add to, just linking the minutes in the agenda item, when the invitations are sent, like the past meeting minutes or how they're reviewed. Because I feel sometimes we kind of move forward constantly without really reviewing things. So it just as a process, as a recommendation moving forward as a committee.
like as a start of the meeting, I mean, that's kind of a typical meeting process. You review the minutes
Yeah.
of this meeting. I think
Yeah,
that
just-
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, for things, yeah.
Yeah, it's my understanding that with advisory committees being, I guess, like a council, it's different in a sense where the minutes don't need to be adopted from the previous meeting, which is why they're not attached. However, like I said, I can always submit the link to you guys and you guys can review them. And they're past and current as well as the YouTube meetings as well.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, as long as we all know where they are, I think that's a good idea. Thanks, Kelly. Do you have other things, Kelly, or is that?
No, I think that's about it. And I just, the committee then wouldn't get rolling again if this committee would survive until January, February. Is that about right, Brandy?
That's my understanding of when the next committees would start rolling. Yeah.
Kind of like January, February. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
I got you next there, Eric.
Yeah, just historically, the previous 2 terms of council had an environmental advisory committee, although I think they felt their mandate was too vague and that they were sort of talking to themselves and not feeling consulted much or getting much progress. So this most recent term, the committee was rebranded and expanded and made more specific about active transportation and sustainability. And I think that really helped a lot. So we're kind of a second version of a committee that had 2 previous terms and then hadn't existed for a good decade before that. I think if we could certainly put in a recommendation of a budget coming along with the mandate, it could even be for the whole term of $2,000 or something, just to help us contribute to projects we want to support or promote that need some funding. And I think council can be fairly comfortable that with 2 councillors on this committee, they're not handing off money to a bunch of other people that might spend it without due oversight. So I think that hopefully they keep in mind that, you know, this committee does include councillors on it who would be watching the city's money as carefully as they always do. I think that's all for now.
All right, great. Thanks, Eric. Got you next, Wilf.
Had to find the unmute button. Thank you, John. Good morning. So just a couple of questions, I guess, for John and maybe through John to for Anne Marie, who or Brandy. I think if I understand correctly, what we're aiming to do today is to bring some create some recommendations for the next council on what we'd recommend the committee be restructured, or how the committee be restructured, including possibly funding and so on. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it would be, we're kind of making, I don't think they're going to be held to it, but I think a recommendation from us on how we think we can move it forward and what the best, lessons that we've learned from our past and how we think it should move forward. And then, yeah, my understanding is it's ultimately going to be up to the next committee to decide how they move forward with it. But this is just our help to push them in the right direction from what we think. Yeah. Anne Marie, do you have anything to add to that? Or
No, I
Brandy?
think you've got it. I think, and it was good dialogue too around the funding piece, and Laurel hit some of the highlights. And maybe it's a recommendation to say that next term should think about getting something on the books through the budget cycle for 2000, and then kind of report back on how they're going to allocate it. But again, that's just a recommendation, high level, to make sure that people in the next committee don't maybe forget about it, and then can be specific when they go to council for the ask for funding about what it might get applied to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Wilf, if you had anything else for it.
Yeah, thanks, John. And before I forget, do we have something on the agenda today to add EV Society as a standing member of the committee?
Nope, we could put, I guess maybe that's committee composition. We can put that in. Yep.
Yeah, so that tied to a recommendation, we couldn't actually motion or influence that at this point. That'll terms of reference get put up through council and approved by council. So I think we report up by a reference committee. So it might be a recommendation that the next group comes together, they talk about who the chairs are, the structure, and then they formally put a terms of reference and composition forward to council for approval. I believe so, but it'd be good for them to know that too, because when they do a call for applications, it would be good for the current member of council that will be associated to this committee if it goes forward to understand that, and then to have a conversation to identify if they can formalize that or not. Just it's a bit sticky about it coming at the end of the term and then into a new one when they're going to do a call for interest. So it's good to have it identified as this being, if it stands, the composition being one where we do deliberately look for a member of the EV Society.
So John, could I, thank you, Anne-Marie. John, could I ask that we include that then in the recommendation that we create today to the next council, that EV Society be invited to attend the committee if the committee continues?
Sure. Do you want to do it as a vote? Make sure we're all on the same page with this. If everyone can kind of decide, kind of going around. If everyone's maybe just raise their hand if they're in favor of adding the EV Society recommendation, and then great, thanks, Sarah. And then Eric, Eric going? So okay, so and I am as well. So okay, that's great. So we'll make that recommendation. I guess it's up to them, council, whether or not they include that, which would be the same as Sherry or someone else being back on, and Living Green being back on as well. So yeah, great.
And John, if I may, the other topic, which I'm wondering if today is the time to discuss this, or we're getting too far into detail on the upcoming committee that's beyond our control. I think we had talked about, I think Kelly had raised the idea of including the words climate change in the committee name. I had some thoughts at past meetings on focusing the committee more on sustainability with subcommittees that focus on activities like food and active transportation and so on. And I think the terms of reference for the committee right now, in fact, allow us to have a broader scope and strike our own subcommittees. And I wonder if that's getting too far into the weeds on things that we have no control over, but at the same time, whether we want to make those recommendations to council on a possible name change and a structure that lets us operate a little more efficiently. So we have monthly meetings that receive reports from our subcommittees that are working on different initiatives, and let us operate and maybe get a little bit more done with some active recommendations to council in the coming year.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the question is whether if we're going to change the name of it, whether we've got time. Does anyone have a specific name they want to kind of vote on, or is it too early? I guess the issue is that this is our last meeting. Anne-Marie, you got a question or a comment?
Well, maybe on that, maybe we reframe it into a question of staff, because there's kind of what's the formal structure, or how do ad hoc or subcommittees get supported? So we've got Bike the Night as an example, and we had the Crompton subcommittee. So when we formalize that through a motion of this committee, we kind of went off and have done our own things without necessarily having, if it didn't pull on staff directly, then we're just kind of doing it on our own and then reporting up. So Bike the Night as an example doesn't have a staff member tied to the meetings that are set, and it's not recorded. And it doesn't have kind of the formality of how we meet, and it doesn't pull on staff resources. Crompton, as another example, directly had members of staff as part of that committee. And again, didn't take administrative support from the city, but it did allow staff to commit their time because it was formalized as an action from a city committee. So if that's helpful, depending on if it's ad hoc and how long it's needed and who's involved, it might be a consideration of how that structure is supported when the next term sits. I'm not sure if that's helpful, Wilf, but it might not be that formal.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Wilf, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm not. Not directly, I guess, just indirectly. Back to the question that I had, which was, do we want to make a recommendation to the next council to change the name and the structure, or is that just too far beyond our control and influence that we just we take a back seat now and or like, I'm not sure what the process is here, and maybe we get some guidance from Brandy or from Anne Marie on that.
At this point here, it's my understanding that the decisions of any committee will be made by the next council, whether the committee will exist or no longer exist or be changed or amalgamated, anything like that. It's all the decision of the next committee. So I guess I'm seeking clarification on your discussion as to whether or not this recommendation is specifically going to council to consider the possibility of a name change if this committee exists, the structure of the committee adding to the composition if this committee exists, as well as a budget if this committee exists.
So that'll all be like the first or second meeting of the new committee.
Right.
So, okay, so when we're hearing that, is it better to leave that on? I mean, we can, if we want my thought is if in the transition document, if we provide a comment on that, and then that's, so then that kind of flags that to the next committee that this is what we're thinking. And then they can make the final call on that.
Yeah, like if it's, you know, at the close of this committee, it was by consensus, the committee felt it should continue, that whoever is making decisions on structure might want to consider, you know, dividing out the agenda items and having maybe focused agendas every other month or some way to balance an equitable distribution of the topics that are covered to cover the full mandate, that an EV representative is considered to be part of the composition formally of the committee, and that a budget be considered to support this committee's ongoing opportunity to engage, inform, and activate residents and complement to city programming. And lastly, that I don't know if we want to get into the structure, because I think that will fall out of what becomes a priority and then how it's supported, and that will be maybe a more direct conversation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's just those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah. No, and I think maybe we should be breaking these up and to make sure everyone's on in agreement on what I guess the name change. This seems like the name change, the time allocation. And then I think the other part of it, Wilf, was whether or not we are in the new term, they spend more time in this committee. You've got the subcommittees broken out and they're doing work independently and they're just coming back sort of reporting. I think that was kind of the idea that you brought forward. There's sort of more a reporting at this meeting, less discussion about detailed discussion about each topic and more just the reporting on an update on it. And if you want to be part of that subcommittee to know the details of it, then that's broken out. So this committee is a little more streamlined in what they're looking at. Does that sort of cover it, Wilf?
Yeah, and I think the terms of reference right now let us do that. It gives us the freedom to operate that way. We just haven't. We've spent a lot of time in the past couple of years on active transportation, and quite frankly, in my opinion, not enough time on sustainability, whether that's food or energy or transportation or what have you. And I think for that reason, it makes sense to maybe encourage the next committee to operate as a high-level committee and create task forces or subcommittees that do the deep dive. And when we have these monthly meetings, just get reports from those subcommittees, but also encourage the next committee to create a work plan with objectives throughout each year that we bring meaningful recommendations to council to act on our recommendation. I think we could have perhaps, if I'm self-critical of what we've done here, we could have maybe done a little bit more of that in past years. So I wonder if this is a chance to encourage council to give that direction to the upcoming committee and chairs to create a little bit more structure around a broader sense of topics and make sure that there's balance. So that's yeah.
Okay, great. Kelly, do you have something to add onto that, Kelly?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all really good points. And I'm just wondering at what point, if we put a document together today, as Brandy's kindly gathering all this data, where that document lands. So, is that going to land as a recommendation to council, the new council? And as they go through their committee appointment process, hopefully this document will come to the forefront and be able to be read and chatted about at the council table about these recommendations from the existing council, this committee. One of the things that I feel strongly about is the name, active transportation. A lot of our neighboring communities have a climate action committee in their cities, Guelph and several others. And I think this is an important word. First of all, it's action, and sustainability does cover a lot of things. But I'm feeling really strongly about having a committee that specifically has the word action in it. So active transportation and climate action committee, I think, would be a really strong statement. We have a lot to do with our reduction of greenhouse gases in our cities, and municipalities have over 50% responsibility for that across Canada. So I think it's a strong statement, and I think we need to be able to step up and say, yeah, we're a city that is really taking action here, and we have a committee that does that. So I think making a recommendation to have a really clear statement about what we're doing at this committee is really important. So I just wanted to put that little piece in, because I'm feeling pretty strong about that with our city, as we're mandated to reduce our greenhouse gas.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Kelly. I get, so maybe, and sort of leaning on Brandy a lot on this here, but are we able to change the name right now? Is that, I mean, I think providing that document, no. Okay. So, okay.
No,
So,
at this point here, it's too late in the game, because again, with the way that it was explained to me, is essentially the new term of council could turn around and decide to actually completely change this committee altogether, not have the committee, or they may decide they want to keep it as active transportation sustainability committee. So it'll be their decision, basically, when it comes down
okay.
on the
Great.
pipelines. Then, yeah.
So then do we thinking that it's going to, is everyone okay with it kind of being, so it's going to be, I think the transition document has the recommendations from us, and we're hoping that the next committee, then the next council reviews that and considers that as part of their, in their considerations for moving forward with this committee. Is that, sorry, going back to you a bit, Kelly, there, is that kind of what you're thinking? If we have that in as our kind of final send off recommendation, or we're gonna have a list of a couple of items that we think would be good for consideration for the next group. Does that cover what you're looking for, or were you hoping for
Yes, I think Anne-Marie was doing a little summary of that too. And I think, we have 5 or 6 items that, clearly state these are, after the experience of the 4 years for most of you guys. I've only been on for, 18 months, but that we feel that these are the recommendations moving forward. And we would recommend that council take a look at these recommendations and potentially include them in their next committee meeting, where they review all the committees and make recommendations and suggestions. So yes, if we could include that as an item on our recommendation list from this committee to the next council moving forward as they appoint and create these new committees.
Okay, great. Wilf, you got your hand up there.
Yeah, sorry, I've got a few thoughts this morning. So are we proposing that we make a recommendation to the next council to consider a name change? Is that my understanding here?
So I think so. Do we want to, is there, Kelly's going to put one forward, active transportation and climate action. Do we need more time? Do people need more time to consider what they want that name to be? Or is everyone comfortable with that name? I guess maybe just raise your hand if anyone wants more, thinks they need more time to consider that.
if I could sort of add, can we have a discussion around it briefly, John?
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Do you want to kind of break, since there's a couple of items here. Do you want to start with the name change to that first one? Great. Okay. So let's go with the name change one. So yeah, what do you got for that, Wolf?
I'd like to second Kelly's thoughts on using the word active in the name, or recommending that council consider the word active in the name. I think that is critically important. I think sustainability is the core essence of who we are and why we're here. And for that reason, I'm a little reluctant to recommend that we specifically use climate change. That is a core part of why we're here. It's part of sustainability, but I wouldn't want the committee to be sort of backed into a corner where all we're doing is climate change initiatives, and we're kind of limited on what we can do, for example, with active transportation or food, or any number of other issues that fall under sustainability. So my thoughts are, Kelly's recommendation that active is an important piece, or action rather, and that sustainability is an important piece, and that the remainder of the activities that fall under that umbrella are stay in the terms of reference and are up to the next committee to carve out. So active transportation would potentially be a subcommittee. Sustainable food production might be a subcommittee. Transportation, electrifying transportation, electrifying buildings, reducing carbon content of buildings, clean air. Like there's so many subcommittees that the next committee could consider and contemplate and carve out. And for that reason, I think the active transportation piece should be dropped. It should be a subcommittee under the sustainability. So that's my thought, is we keep it simple, Sustainability Action Committee, and leave it at that. Does that make sense? Discussion.
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying. Yeah, I think I just want to check back in with Kelly. I think maybe I had it down wrong. Was your suggestion active transportation and climate action? Was it this? You had to comment about the sustainability.
Yeah, that's what I think there, but I think Wolf has a good point, because the Sustainability Action Committee, I think that also says a lot. But I know active transportation is an important one as well, and yeah, I don't know, now I'm kind of wavering, because it's yeah, I don't know. I really think we need the word action, climate action. We need to step up and really feel that this is part of what we're doing as a committee, reducing our greenhouse gases and our impacts, and that encompasses everything: housing, food, transportation. All of those items are under that umbrella. And if we're seen and recognized as a committee, this goes hand in hand with our mitigation and our adaptation groups that are now working. So I feel that if the committee is aligned with our adaptation and mitigation teams that are working, that we can also work really well together and have that staff component on the committee.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Kelly. So I think it was Laurel first.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that some time might be beneficial to think about the name recommendation that we actually put into the document. It just sounds like there's a lot of different things to think about here, and I think using climate, I like action. I think climate action is a big piece to bite off. Like, I think it encompasses so much. Like, I mean, it's technically like a weather system, so I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, I think a little more time is all I was going to say. Just some time to throw suggestions around on email and come up with a preferred name is maybe best.
Okay, great. Thanks, Laurel. Sarah?
Hi. I would also agree with Laurel that maybe having an offline continuing discussion might be helpful, but I thought I would also add some considerations and perspectives. I agree that climate action, I like the phrase climate action, and I think it's an important committee group that is being used more and more. I think it's becoming better understood than sustainability. Sustainability is often still considered from a business perspective by the general public. And then going back to the active transportation, I think climate action encompasses so much, both mitigation and adaptation, that I would also suggest maybe considering to drop active transportation, because that is just one facet of a complex and varied subtopics of climate action. And so if we're just focusing on one, we're ignoring all the others that are equally important or should also have attention to. So I would focus more on a broader framing of the committee, and trying to also think about both adaptation and mitigation. I think they cannot be done in isolation, and both of those things are overlapping. So for example, active transportation on its own obviously has mitigation benefits, but it also has adaptation benefits when you add in various components of built environment and the benefits of active transportation for society. So a lot to consider, and I think I would agree that this could be a drawn out conversation to nail down the right recommendation.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Great points there. Yeah. Does anyone else have comments on that? Andy?
So what I'm thinking here, I think these are all really good, important things. What I'm wondering is if our timing is off here, being this is our last meeting, and there is always a chance that a new mayor and new council may scrap the whole thing. Would it not be a better idea just to rest on the laurels that we've done all these things as the Active Transportation and Sustainability Committee, and then hope that new council and mayor come in and also go, yeah, that one definitely stays, and that maybe this is something that's tabled in the first beginning of the new term, assuming that mayor and council want to continue with it. As I would just hate for it to look at all broken at the end of this, right? So that's my point.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, great. Anyone have a comments on that? Anne Marie?
I think in alignment to that too is, I mean, should it stand, you also have, should some of you not reapply to the structure or get chosen, right? That's always an outcome. We can always look at engaging the member of council after they're confirmed. And so who might be a key stakeholder to kind of make sure, have a cup of coffee, have a conversation. If you're not continuing on and can carry it, to actually help give them some background if they have not had any type of exposure to this committee historically.
Right, great. Any other thoughts on that one? Yeah, I guess my thoughts were that, yeah, I think I like the idea of explaining that to the next group to give them the idea of why we thought this was important at the very end. We kind of came across this at the end, and maybe even having a suggestion on what direction we're looking at, but leaving it to them is my idea. But I think sounds like everyone kind of agrees that maybe this to finalize this by email with all these other items at the same time. So kind of on the same page with that. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm not sure if it's ever happened, but I mean, it'd be nice to see if there's a knowledge transfer opportunity. So regardless of who's in the next committee, if one of the first meetings, there's an invitation back of members of this committee as guests to actually have part of the first meeting as a knowledge exchange, congratulations, and hear the things that were important to us and an opportunity to share some of that knowledge and transfer some of those things over a bit more formally.
Great. Yeah, I certainly support that. Yeah, Andy?
And then along the same lines, if I know obviously we don't know what the crystal ball is for the future as far as COVID goes, but as a recommendation to have at least one of the first meetings be in person, should COVID allow that to occur, because I do think that those side conversations are really important with something like this.
Great, yeah. Okay, any thoughts on that? So that's kind of, I think we're kind of tabling that as, or putting that off as the name change component of it. Do we want to discuss a little bit about that $2,000? We're sort of throwing $2,000 out there. Is that our number? Are we happy with that number as a group, or do we want to, it's just a recommendation to see what we want?
Throw it out as a minimum.
I think that's
Well, I would say 5.
Five, yeah.
I was curious as to what the other committees have as budgets. Do we know?
Even know.
I don't know.
Oh.
No.
And,
some were specific to the task, right? So I think some received, well, here's an example. There are 3 mayor task forces that were struck. One did come to council for funding because they did actually do quite extensive travel to visit other theaters. But other than that, I haven't seen, and I think that might have been a couple thousand or so, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a picture overall, but it would be good maybe to look at making sure all members of the committee know that that's an avenue they can explore for support.
Yeah, so if the seniors committee has a budget, there's, several
we didn't have one.
committees.
Yeah. That could be lying because I came in part-term, right? So I know there was things that were printed. So some things are supported through communications, but not necessarily a budget.
Wilf, I got you next.
Sorry, John, I was really hopeful we'd have a short meeting, but apparently I'm not contributing to that outcome. So I'm just wondering, as I understand the process, council is it's at council's pleasure that this committee exists again, and it's at their pleasure how it'll be named. Are we asking for something that isn't going to be meaningful to the next council when we're asking for a budget, when we don't know who the committee will be comprised of, what they will do, what their mandate is? How can we ask council to say, please, assign a budget to this committee that hasn't yet been defined? It seems to me that what we might want to say is ask council is to make a provision that the future committee, as necessary, can come to council and ask for a budget for things that it's identified. We don't know who's going to be on that committee. We don't know what they're going to do or what they want to do, which way they're going to steer it. So, we may be asking for way too much. We may be asking for way too little. We don't know where it's going to go. So maybe we just need to leave that open-ended and say that, ask council to leave room for the next committee to ask for money as needed. Does that make any sense?
I certainly understand what you're saying. Yeah, and I guess since maybe Laura was in agreement with that. Yeah. Sorry, do you have anything to add to that, Laura? Just agreeing to it?
No, I was basically going to say the same thing. I mean, even if we look at our Bike the Night event, like our costs are somewhere around maybe $1,500 or less than $2,000 anyway. So even if we wanted to make that an annual event, like that would be something I think that we would go to council, or have the future committee would go to council and ask for that money for a specific thing. I don't know, Anne Marie, if that other referenced budget that you were referring to was like hotly debated or not, but I can't imagine that a committee that gets appointed by council and then wants to do something with money would be overly controversial, but I might be wrong.
Yeah. No, and that's always a process that's open, I think, to Wilf's comment. I mean, we don't have to ask for the city to kind of be open to giving money. That's a open by motion to move up through reference committee and then to council for motion. So that's an open process. But again, maybe it's to earmark minimum $2,000 should Bike the Night continue, that there is funding identified to be able to support that from a first aid and communications and marketing.
Yeah, sorry, Wilf, you got another comment?
So, Anne Marie, are you proposing that we tag the $2,000 for that specific event? Is that what is that correct?
Maybe I think there's probably going to be some of us that continue on, so we should be able to kind of advocate or move that knowledge forward. But I mean, we can identify and point to it now and to say, bike the night. Ideally, the intention is to be an annual event. We don't know, should it continue to be under the umbrella of this committee, then it would be important to make sure to be able to support it that $2,000 is set aside to enable the committee to partner with other agencies and to support running it.
That makes sense to me if we're specifically earmarking it for that activity, because we know that that's a reasonable amount of money for that activity. I'm really hesitant to throw any other kind of number up there and level set the next council to say, we're going to perform miracles if you give us this much money. And by the second meeting next year, we go back groveling for more money because we didn't ask for enough or whatever. I'd rather leave that open-ended. Like your ask for a specific event makes sense because we've got a history on what we need for it, but my feeling is we should not peg a specific number for the committee as a whole, because we're level setting council for what we need to operate. We may need much more, much less.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Eric.
Hi. First of all, sorry I'm late to the party, but I'm here. So I agree with where this part of the conversation is going with both Wilf and Anne Marie's comments. I think it's important. We do have this one event that we know we'll be supporting going forward, at least. So why not ask for that money? However, I think some statement to Wilf's suggestion about at least giving council, for what it's worth, a heads up that we would like a provision for future funds. We don't know what that is. We don't know how much or how little. But just so that we plant the seed that, hey, we do expect that we'll get some financial support should we need it. I think that's wise to somehow put into the wording.
Great.
That's it.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric. I'm kind of the same idea. If we can suggesting that there is a need for that, or that it would be well used, we would be more effective if we had some city funds, I guess, is maybe the point. And then we could suggest that, we're running the Bike the Night event, and it is we're thinking that it's around $2,000 for one single event, and then maybe that at least gives them a ballpark of what an event costs, and then they can see how much they want to do beyond that, or what their vision is beyond that.
Yeah.
So
express it as a percentage of the total operating budget of the city, and that will make it seem very small.
Yeah. For productive verbiage, yeah. So does anyone else have any comments on that item, then, on the request for additional fund or for funds, and maybe leaving it, I guess, is everyone on board with that? We're kind of leaving it a little bit open-ended on how much it's going to be, but suggesting that we have identified that around $2,000 would have helped us a lot on this on the one event that we're trying to run this year. I guess thumbs up if we're good. Okay, good. Okay, so then for those other items within it, do we want to have any more discussion about the fact that we're going to split it, or is the split, now that we've talked about that active transportation is kind of maybe it was sort of heavy in the past on how much weight that was carrying for the committee, is it going to be split, or we're just going to leave it up to the future committee on how that split goes between transportation and sustainability or active climate action? Laurel?
Had my hand up to talk about this, and then I thought it's too soon. We don't need to talk about it. I don't know what the answer is, but I do think that if we are going to have it split up, where people would be involved in at least one subcommittee and then the main committee every month, that is more of a time commitment, which should be included in the posting. Like the one I saw was in the newspaper. I don't know about the rest of you, but that information is important enough so that people know what they're committing to, or we just put a range that's inclusive of someone having, let's say 4 hours or 6 hours of meetings a month instead of just 2, which is the original commitment, right?
Great point. Yeah. Any other comments on it? Yeah, I'm a little wary about scaring people off with that kind of stuff, but yeah, any other comments on that? No one, so then maybe we'll leave that one in the email and we'll see whoever responds to that. Was there any other items? So split it up, make it more balanced. Am I missing any other ones that we need to discuss kind of as a group before we move into something else? Andy? Yeah.
I mostly just want to clarify or get some clarification, I should say, about this transition document. So Brandy is putting this together, I believe, and this is something we've started with. Just these are the motions that we've put forward. This is where they stand now. And then included in this document is going to be our recommendation, this committee as it is right now in our last meeting, for the next committee structure. Is that we're putting that forward? Is that actually how it's working?
It's my understanding that Councillor Aylwin has been the one that has been constructing the transition document. I have had no part in it, with the exception of being a part of the meetings. So at this point here, I don't have anything with respect to a transition document. I haven't received anything from Councillor Aylwin that I could provide to the committee or even to Wendy. So at this point here, I don't know if, like was previously mentioned, if I guess I'm not sure, John, if it was going to be yourself or somebody else that was reaching out to Councillor Aylwin
Yeah,
to find out about that document.
Sure, I can reach out to him and see where he's at with it, and then yeah, then if nothing's been prepared, we can start putting something together. I mean, I don't think it's going to have to be extremely detailed, but I guess to Andy, to answer your question, I think, yeah, that's sort of what I'm seeing is like we're putting together some recommendations on here are some items that we think moving forward, what our thoughts are with it, and some suggestions on how to deal with that. And I guess the one question, sorry, that's what I'm thinking, Andy. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure who was doing this and how it was coming forward, because so then what I'd understand is that we have a new mayor and council, and they are voting on what committees will exist, what they'll be called, and what possible structure they would have based on what the former council had done.
Yes, that's what. Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
okay. I just wanted to get some clarification on that. That's how it goes. Thanks.
Great. Yeah. Okay, Kelly, go ahead.
I just make a recommendation on this document that it just be one page and it be very clear. 5 points or 6 points, whatever our recommendations are. Not to make it too complicated, and hopefully, not sure exactly. I guess that document can go to Brandy, then to Wendy. And then out accordingly, I don't know, to the new council, whenever that comes into fruition, as long as we kind of make sure that that gets tracked somehow and hopefully gets into the right hands or the right meeting, but making it really clear and simple. I don't think it needs to be complicated. And it's, basically, I think it's a really great idea, for all committees, quite honestly, within the city that have been running and working for 4 years to make those recommendations and considerations. So I think that's, a nice opportunity. And I really like Anne Marie's idea too of having committee members coming in, that were on the previous committees, just as kind of a handover. I think that's a really good recommendation. So perhaps this is something that can be standardized for all committees, that make these recommendations, because you have a wealth of knowledge. It's almost like an exit interview, when you ask people, how do we do and why are you leaving? And, this is a really great opportunity to make the suggestions to the next council. So I'm just, one page, and hopefully it gets where it needs to go, and somebody looks at it and reviews it and takes it into consideration.
Yeah, that's great. I definitely agree. It's got to be of a length that someone's going to read, so we're not burying them in the information. So, and I guess the one thing that I was thinking before is, what's the deadline for having this in? Is it October 1st? Do we have to have that in, Brandy? Do you have any idea of what? There must be some sort of timeline when we have to get this thing in by?
It's my understanding. I think the consensus is as early as possible. Yeah, because the election is on the 24th of October, and then there's only so many meetings. So the earlier the better.
Okay. Okay. So we'll get this out hopefully right after the meeting. Okay, great. Oh, Eric.
Is there any point getting this to the current council? It would seem to me putting it on the plate of the newly elected members would be the timing we'd want to aim for. So maybe have it ready by the end of October or mid-October.
Yeah. So that's okay with me. I just wasn't sure if there was anything that had to be in before, if it had to go in before the end of the election period, or what it was, but we can.
I'll see if I can quickly find that out and have an answer for the committee before the end of the meeting. So
Great.
I'm just going to step away for a quick second.
Perfect. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, because you're still members in October. We're just not having meetings, right? So
Yeah.
it won't go to the current members of council regardless because of the current state of the election process. But if you could get it into the clerk's office, then they can package that up and get ready when they then move from the elections to new council, and the call for membership, I believe, will come through the legislative court services, the clerk's office.
Okay, great. Is that what you meant, Eric?
Yes, and I just wanted to add that if people put together all their thoughts, I could try and collate them and trim them down to a single page. I'm good at bringing word counts down.
Perfect. Let's do that. So I'll talk to Keenan then first to see where he's at with it, and then I'll connect with you, Eric. And then I'll send an email out to the group just so everyone knows what to do, where to send it. And we'll all send it either to Eric, or if Keenan's already on top of it, then we'll loop in him. And so leave this, the whole thing up with me, but I'll coordinate between Eric and Keenan. Great. Okay. Is there anything else on that item that like a transition document, committee composition, that anyone else like to discuss before we move on? Andy? Yep.
Try and be brief, just to sum up, I think that really focus on the highlights of what we have done to make sure that it's advertised to them as this is a valuable thing. Let's keep this momentum going. That's
Okay.
it. Final thoughts.
Great. Perfect. Okay. So, yeah, so we're moving on to the next item is 2.3. So new initiatives, green communities. Is that Andy? So I don't know I can't remember what that item was related to. Does anyone know? Makes it quick. Okay. So we can come back to this if Brandy or someone else remembers or comes on, thinks of anything. The next item, 2.4, is Bike the Night. So lots of stuff going on with Bike the Night. Yeah, I don't know. Kelly, do you want to do this summer? You're doing so much work on this. So where we're at, or it's a pretty tough one to start off with. But yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kelly and
moving
Andy,
along.
lots
We're
of-
moving along. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's doing great. Did you see my little video? I put a little video up. It was I hastily lit up my bike last night and told John to get outside and videotape me. So my dog was barking. It was so funny. My neighbors were wondering what I was doing. I'm in the street, my bike's all lit up. I got lights everywhere flashing. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't call the cops on me.
Yeah.
Wondered what I was doing. I think we're making some great progress. It's funny, I'm sure when we do this, hopefully it gets done again next year, it'll be a breeze. But at this point, we're kind of, scrambling a little, but I think we're good. I think we're on track. We've got pieces that are still in play. Unfortunately, the library let me know they can't attend, so they're not going to be attending. A lot of this when we ask for these folks to come is the request, it's staffing, and they just don't have the staffing to do it, even when it comes to looking at vendors as well. So, we've had a couple of, no's from vendors that can't come because of staffing, but I do have 2 tents, Andy. So the tents will be available for Living Green and for, who else wanted the tent? There was the Firebird. Yes,
Firebird.
Thank you. I read your lips.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will have the tents, we will have table and chairs, all courtesy of the BIA, so that's not a problem. We've got a great donation. One of Laurel's companies has donated money so we can purchase prizes, and we've got a couple of downtown merchants that are donating prizes. I think the permit is 100%. So, I just haven't got the final permit, but everything's good. And so that process went fairly smoothly in coordination. Living Green, they've been working diligently on this and spending a lot of time as well. So it's coming along really, really well. And we've got gathering our volunteers. And I think we have a call out to volunteers. Maybe Anne-Marie can make that call for the night itself, and who's going to come and help us and be there. So it's coming along. I'm just gonna send it off to Anne-Marie too. She's got some updates, or John.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I guess maybe at the very start, it's September 17th. So not this coming Saturday, the next Saturday. I think we've got all the critical items crossed off, right? And it's a go for sure. Just got to make sure the weather goes well, but let everyone know that that's what's going on. But yeah, go ahead, Anne-Marie.
Sure, I've got some additional updates from our last committee meeting that have come through. I just sent, I think, the summary of actions for those on the committee from our September 1st meeting. In addition, I have a meeting being arranged with Barrie Police this week just to go over the route that we finalized and revisited for volunteers. We have 30 different vests donated by the health unit through Sherry, and volunteers can keep those. So I should have a pretty solid final list of volunteers or any gaps by tomorrow. There was an internal call out to city staff as well, which was lovely to see if anyone was interested. I've signed up my husband to be a wave leader. You get to meet the Joe. I also did a video. So this morning was on a bike ride and did a promo piece, and we're using the hashtag Bike the Night Barrie. That's what I at least had down from the end of our conversation. So I've started using that. Unless there's any changes for those of you around the room right now, are we good to continue with it?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, we were kind of thinking we were a lot of old people here, but let's give it a shot.
And so while we're being mindful of number of registrants, I think we had about over 120 or so formally through Eventbrite. So we are still asking all members of this committee if you can take the time to post a picture of you with your bike or a promotion and tag it to the city and Living Green Barrie. We are encouraging some key messages, in particular that it is a free event, right, from 5 to 7 in Meridian Square. At 7 o'clock, we're going to start the wave of riders, so people know to please decorate your bikes in advance. So while we will have some supplies there, we are asking residents to bring their bikes decorated, ideally with things that won't be discarded day of, but there will be a station where we can take photos, and bikes that are decorated will be put into some draw prizes. So I'll be working with Laurel and others around the communications. We've got a lot of different content there that we will look at, but leads for a point of contact day of. Kelly, myself, and Sherry have 3 different roles that are identified on the permits. Kelly will be the lead contact for anyone connected to a vendor. So whether you're Firebird or anyone else actually coming to set up, then Kelly is the main contact around who goes where on the site plan. So how we're activating Meridian Place. I will be the key contact for volunteers. So if you're interested, or if you know of anyone interested, and I've got Brandy, your name down, please send them to my email, and I'm confirming how long they're able to attend, because we might be reusing volunteers from 5 to 7 and then redirecting them just before 7 o'clock along the route if they can stay until 8. So please get that into me as soon as possible. If you or someone you know can volunteer, we're going to finalize that. And I'll then take that into a meeting with Barrie Police and identify where they're complementing us on key parts of the route that we've previously discussed. I think all other pieces, things have it's gone really well. So I know there's been a lot of call out, and Living Green Berry's done a ton of work on this too. So I think we're in a good position. We've got first aid. Sherry's role will be at the command center, which will be on the site map. So she will be there, and we do have process for anything from lost items to lost child to any of that type of emergency situation. She will be the key contact as well with first aid on site, and then any situational factors there. So you'll be able to easily see us and find us if you're participating in the event, but don't have a key role around setup and takedown. Did I miss anything, everybody?
Yeah, so the only thing that I was going to mention is we've got Rock 95 and Cool FM are going to be there doing the MC stuff. So then they're on it. And we've heard some radio comments on it. So hopefully that's keep getting pushed from that end. And also, if you are looking for pictures, we've got pictures from the Guelph event. We've got great pictures from a Flickr account there that if showing what it looks like. If you want to add those to anything, just let me know. I can give you I can send, or maybe I'll send a link around to the group so everyone's got it.
Good.
A Flickr account with a whole bunch of pictures from that. And you can add any of those pictures. We've got an authorization to put any of those pictures up for promotional materials. Yeah. I didn't see who's up first there. Eric.
John, I apologize for the late reply to your email, and I've been kind of out of touch. I did get your request to put a Strava, like to put the route up on Strava, which I can do, no problem. And I'll add some photos. You did send some photos, and I'll check out some other ones too, just to help promote it for what it's worth. I can share that on my profile and on the BCC Barrie Cycling Club profile, as well as on their webpage and social channels and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So that will help, or may help. Yeah, and then you also asked if I was interested in being a wave leader. That's fine. I'll volunteer and happy to do that. I'll wear a helmet too, I promise. It'd be the only time I wear a helmet, but anyway.
Yeah.
Set the example. Yeah, and sorry.
I was going to say, Eric, you can decorate the helmet. It can be.
I'll light it up.
You can,
Yeah.
use it as a tactic.
I'll light it up with a long extension cord. So what else I was going to say? Yeah. So anything else I can do volunteering wise, let me know if I can help out.
Great. Thanks a lot, Eric. Yeah, appreciate it. Kelly.
Just another note, Stacy at the BIA. So I'm going to do up a little blurb for her and send along the poster. She does a mail out to all the merchants every week on Thursday. So I'm going to put that little piece together for her this week so she can get the details and the poster out to the downtown merchants this week.
Perfect. Great. Thanks, Kelly. Laurel.
I was just going to ask, well, on that, Kelly, on the note, is that going to be the same one pager we're going to have for the media? Would that be appropriate? I think we talked about having a one pager at the event.
I'll take what Kelly sends and I might modify it with a bit more detail for a media one pager.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one's just very basic.
Okay.
But you could certainly use it as a base.
Okay. So you're going to, were you going, what was I going to ask you about that? Oh, are you going to put in I guess we're just going to leave it to them if they want to offer discounts or something. You were going to also reach out.
I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll ask and they can contact me,
Okay, awesome.
They want. Yeah. I'm going to put it out there. Why not? Right. I mean,
yeah, for sure. And then are we putting sponsors on that thing or not? It's just a one pager.
I don't know if we need to do that because it's coming internally from the BIA. So I'm not sure if that's,
Okay. My only other question for you and for Anne-Marie was which media you posted your videos on, because I didn't see them. I just tried searching.
Living Green, there is a Bike the Night Facebook page. Maybe does anybody know about that?
I'm on that one, but I don't see your post there. I wonder if it has to be approved or
It's a
something.
comment. It's not a post. I
Okay.
can't post. I
On
can
the
only
Okay,
put
so you
comments on.
commented on. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
maybe we
posted
could-
on my city councilor page and
Yeah.
tagged Live in Green.
Okay,
Instead of
also
the
make-
comments, maybe we could actually, I can't post on there, so maybe we could put that video on a post instead of in my comments.
We
Oh,
can
yeah,
make you a co-host, Kelly, if you're going to be posting videos, or anyone who thinks they need to be posting anything for it, we can just make you co-hosts. So Anne Marie, Kelly, anyone else, let me know and we'll make
Okay.
a co-host for it.
Okay.
I just maybe I'm on the old Facebook. Do we still have 2 pages?
Oh,
Can
yeah, there's still 2 pages.
we delete one of them?
Only.
We'll see maybe this offline thing. Yeah, we can check. We can make a comment
Yeah.
with them. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'll try to figure this out.
Okay. Great. So is there any other comments on that? I guess the other sort of a high level comment on that is that we're trying to, with all the bike decoration, we're trying to make an effort for it to be not one-time use decorations. If you can have something that's that we don't want a whole bunch of garbage left after the site or as a result of the event. So we're doing our best to find that stuff out. Yeah. Is there anyone else? Laurel, that's a hand up from before, or do you have? Okay. Great. Yes. Anything else on Bike the Night? Questions or comments or ideas? Perfect. Eric, yep.
Yeah, question. So just again, I've been out of touch. I apologize, but the Bike Tonight, is there a link I can share to, like, what link do I share, I guess, if I'm gonna promote
Yeah.
it?
So there's an event. The ideal one is there's the Facebook page with Living Green, and then we want them to sign up on the Eventbrite page. So I can send you that, or actually I should think the link. So I think I sent you a link in the email I sent, but maybe it didn't work. Did not work.
I didn't try.
Okay.
Sorry.
So that one should be, there's a link there to the Eventbrite page, which we're hoping people can sign up on the Eventbrite page. That'd be
Okay.
a better indicator on.
I've got it in front of me. I'll send it by email to everybody now.
Perfect.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Okay, thanks.
Great. Okay. Anything else? Oh, great.
Just as an update, it's my understanding everybody's either kind of in meeting or off-site meetings at this point here, but it's my understanding there is no reference committee meeting set for basically what would go as a next step for this committee. And there won't be one until the next term of council. So at this point, as to whether or not it should go to this council or next council, the consensus would probably, like, it sounds more like it would be better suited for the next council, because again, the structure of this committee, even the mere existence of this committee, is going to be determined by them. And as mentioned by Councillor Kungle, with the new term of committee, if the committee continues, whether it's existing committee members now on the new term, or this term of committee goes in and presents or speaks with the new term of committee, if this information could be kind of shared then, and then a recommendation be done then to the new term of council. Because at this point here, when a new term of committee is created, that's when they do their mandate. That's when they do their terms of reference and all that stuff. It's at the beginning stages of the committee.
Okay.
So it's just a thought
But okay.
there, and unless something changes between now and 5 minutes from now, if anybody comes out of a meeting, that's my understanding of things, and speaking with staff.
Okay. So I guess, yeah, just if you find out something different that we need to be, so it sounds like we've got a little bit more time if we needed it to have it in. So it's not till the next meeting, but maybe we should still target October 1st to get that stuff ready. If everyone's okay with that, let's make sure we get it in. And then if Brandy, if you find out that you've got to have it in sooner than that, let us know. That's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, I think so. That's the last item. Is there anything anyone else would like to bring up for this meeting?
And I just want to confirm that there are no recommendations like that are going out as a motion as of today that I have to prepare within the minutes and submit along. I just want to make sure that, because there's a lot going in transition and translation here. So I just want to make sure that I got everything correct, that everything at this point here is just, if anything comes out, it's going to come out, say, potentially for that October 1st date, not today.
That's my understanding. Yeah, from some board that. Yeah, that's what no motion. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Great. Andy.
I just, since there's some time, I'm just going to mention some dates. It's a really busy September and October, so I just wanted to put some dates out formally here. On September 15th, there is a Pollinator Highways Stakeholder Meeting put together by Earth Roots. If anyone's interested in this particular project, please just type in Pollinator Highways and you'll find out a little bit more about it, but they're having a stakeholder meeting. It's all day, like 10 till 3 on September 15th. We're going to try and send a representative if we can find a board member that can do it. It's a very busy time. So if you want more information about that, then September 16th is our all-day strategic planning. So we'll be doing, our board will be meeting to talk about what Living Green can and should be doing in the next coming years. And then September 17th, of course, Bike the Night. September 20th, the Rotary Club is having an Earth Day, 20th anniversary of Earth Day event because it was postponed from COVID, and it's CBC's Quirks and Corks Bob McDonald. And so make sure if you're interested in that event. Again, all of these things are going to be linked to our website, so you can go to the one thing. So they're having that at Kempenthal Theatre in the evening. Then on September 22nd, there is the Great Electric Vehicle Rally. It is a group out of Quebec that is going to be coming here to Barrie. We're working on the details of it, but it will be a group of people who are doing this rally for a long range electric vehicle use. So Barrie is one of the stopovers. I'll send out more information, maybe Brandy through you, that you can get to this committee about that, as the details are sort of just coming in right now as we're doing it. Then September 24th is the Harvest Share event, Living Green's Harvest Share event, and that's where we're also going to be doing our recognition for the Trillium grant that we're having at that same event. Then October 6th, Living Green is hosting a debate with the mayor prospects, the mayoral candidates on the environment, and it'll be hosted by the former environmental commissioner Gord Miller. So again, if you're interested in attending, that will be an online meeting. And then we will have, in October, we're going to have 5 different tree planting events that are going to be across wards 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. So if you're interested, again, that information will be on our website, so you can sign up for those. And then the set date will be October 29th. And that will be our Halloween tree planting event, and it'll be at Upper Kids Creek, Victoria Woods Park. And what we're going to do for that is have a Halloween tree planting event. Hopefully kids will dress up and things like that, but we'll also be doing, hopefully, this is what we're working on, is a little bit of a tour and of the Upper Kids Restoration Project. So very, very busy couple of months coming up. Everything's happening in mid-September. I don't know why, but I just wanted to put those dates out and let you know about them. That's it.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Yeah, busy couple of months for you coming up. Eric, got you next there.
Yes, we're coming up on a year since we lost committee member, the late Al McNair, and at the time it was mentioned there'd be a celebration of life pending, and I haven't heard anything since, and Google hasn't showed me that I missed one. So I was just wondering if anyone has heard anything along those lines. I'd assumed it would be over the summer, but the summer has passed. So just wondering if anyone has heard anything about that.
I have to go ahead, Andy.
So we are working with the city. There is going to be a bench and a tree planted. So we're just trying to work out the details of that. And then what I'm hoping to do, and this will be down at near the South Shore Center, near the rowing club. So Peter Burston, one of our board members, has been instrumental in trying to keep doing that. He's off, so I'm picking up the pieces of that one. What we might be doing, we're hoping to do, is do also a small tree planting event. So there'll be the typical kind of larger landscape size tree that will be installed by the city. And then at around the same time, we're working to see if we can do a smaller grove planting of trees in the natural area somewhere close to there. So that will be, think if we can get all those pieces going, that will determine when that date is happening. So that's as I understand it right now. It's all being worked on. So
Well, thank you very much.
Great. Yeah, thanks. Great point, Eric. Thanks for bringing that up. Anyone else? Any last comments? No? Kelly?
Yeah,
Kelly?
sorry, just one. I just didn't want to leave that the document, the tracking document that that we all the suggestions and recommendations we've made over the last 4 years and where they stand. The last time I looked at it, Brandy had updated it. So just maybe have a look at it if anybody hasn't really looked at it. I know there's a few things that haven't had anything done. So perhaps, again, through the next committee, we can maybe keep a little better handle on our recommendations and actions and where they're sitting. I can think of the tree bylaw being one of that just comes to top of mind. That kind of sits in no man's land. So it'd be really helpful just to, make a recommendation as a committee to be really a lot better at tracking items that we send up for recommendation and where they're sitting. That's all.
Great. Thanks, Kelly, for that. Anyone else? Last call for anything? No? I wonder if, Brandy, can we go off live stream and then we everyone stay on for another minute? Is that okay?
Okay, so I'm stopping live streaming and then